1. The sound beneath the floorboards when I moved into the old cottage in Maine. I thought I'd finally found peace. The world had chewed me up: failed relationships, a crumbling career, and the endless noise of the city. So I left it all behind. I found the cottage on a foreclosure site, cheap, isolated, and built back in 1893. A place with a past, I thought. Not knowing that sometimes the past claws its way back. The first week was uneventful. I stocked the kitchen, set up my old bookshelves, and reconnected with the silence I had craved. The nearest neighbor was a 10-minute drive away, and the property was surrounded by trees that seemed to whisper when the wind blew just right. Then came the sound. It started faint, like shifting wood or distant knocking. I assumed it was the cottage settling or the pipes adjusting to the temperature. But it wasn't the usual creak of an old house. It was deliberate, rhythmic, like fingers tapping, or footsteps, not on the stairs. Beneath them, on the fourth night. I was reading in the living room when I heard it again. Tap, dash, tap, dash, tap. I turned off the music and held my breath. It was unmistakable. From under the floorboards, slow, calculated, like someone or something was. Pacing beneath me, I told myself it was just rodents. The cottage had probably been vacant for years. But then the tapping stopped directly beneath my feet. I froze. The air in the room dropped, and my skin prickled with a cold that had nothing to do with temperature. I stood and stepped back. Silence, then 3 taps. Hard, as if in response. The next morning, I went outside to inspect the foundation. There was no basement, just a crawl space too tight for any human to fit through. No signs of animals, no holes, nothing. That night, I laid in bed, staring at the ceiling, ears straining. At 3:13 a.m., the tapping returned. This time, not under the living room, under my bed. I bolted upright. The tapping stopped, then slowly resumed. Louder, like nails on wood. I didn't sleep. The following day, I ripped up one of the floorboards in the bedroom. Just dirt beneath. I dug with my bare hands until my nails bled. No bones, no wires, no proof of what I'd heard. By the end of the week, the tapping had turned to scratching. At night, I'd hear frantic clawing, like something desperate was trying to break through. I recorded it on my phone, but when I played it back, nothing, just silence. I considered leaving, selling, running, but something kept me there. Not fear, curiosity. A pull I couldn't explain. On the 9th night, I had a dream. I was standing in the living room. The lights flickered. The air was heavy. I looked down, and the floorboards were warped and cracking. From the cracks came fingers, pale, splintered, scraping upward. Trying to escape, I woke up screaming. Then I saw it on the wall across from my bed. Handprint, filthy, wet, dragged down the paint. I didn't sleep at all after that. The next evening, I heard something new. A voice whispers under the floor. Muffled, like someone was speaking through earth and wood. I pressed my ear to the floorboards, and my blood ran cold. Let me out, ... I jumped back, heart hammering, bile rising in my throat. I stumbled outside, vomiting into the grass, tears streaming down my face. This wasn't my imagination. This cottage, this peaceful escape, was alive. I drove to the town library the next morning. I needed answers. The librarian, an older woman named Marlene, gave me a long look when I mentioned the address. That house shouldn't have sold, she muttered. People avoid it for a reason. What reason? I asked, trying not to sound unhinged. She pulled out an old newspaper article from 1957. The headline read, "Local woman vanishes without a trace. Foul play suspected in beloved schoolteacher's disappearance." She showed me another article. 1982. Teen goes missing near abandoned cottage. Search called off after 10 days. Then a third. Man missing after moving into inherited cabin. Wife claims voices in the floor. The pattern was undeniable. People moved in. People disappeared. Always in that house. You should leave, Marlene said softly, before it takes you to. But I didn't leave. That night, I sat in the living room, lights off. Waiting at 3:13 a.m., the scratching started. Then the voice, "Let me out. Please. It hurts." I whispered back, "Who are you?" There was a pause. Then, in a voice that sounded just like mine, "I'm you." The floor buckled beneath me. I fell back, and the wood splintered open like ribs cracking apart. From the crawl space, a face emerged, my face pale, hollow-eyed, screaming in silence. I scrambled back, but the arms reached for me, clawing at the floor. "Let me out! Let me out! Let me out!" I ran. I don't remember grabbing my keys. I don't remember starting the car. I just remember the sound of wood tearing and something crawling behind me as I fled down the road. I never went back. The house still stands. Still listed on those cheap real estate websites. Still waiting. Sometimes I dream of that face. My face. Still trapped beneath the floor, begging to be let out. And every now and then, I wake up to tapping beneath my bed. Too. I found a missing person's diary in the forest. It was supposed to be a weekend of detox. No phones, no emails, no noise. Just trees, trails, and peace. My friend Josh invited me to a secluded forest reserve in Oregon, a place his uncle owned that wasn't even on Google Maps. I should have known from the start. Anything not on the map isn't meant to be found. The cabin was rustic, powered by a generator, and miles from the nearest cell signal. But it was beautiful in a lonely kind of way. Old-growth trees towered around us, their trunks like walls. By the second day, I started feeling strange, like the forest wasn't just alive. But watching while hiking the third morning, I wandered ahead of Josh. The trail narrowed and veered, left toward a dried-up stream. That's when I saw it. Red leather-bound journal, weathered and dirty, tucked beside a fallen log. It looked completely out of place, too intact, too intentional. Curiosity won. I picked it up. The cover had a name burned into it. Emily R.I. flipped it open. The handwriting was frantic, uneven. Some entries were smudged, like they'd been written through tears. I started reading as I walked. June 12th, I think I'm lost. I was following the trail, but it changed. It looked different. I kept walking, but every direction looks the same. Now, I'm trying not to panic. June 13th, I didn't sleep. There was something outside the tent last night. It wasn't an animal. It didn't move like one. I could hear it breathing. Stopped walking. The air felt heavier. I looked around, nothing but trees and the distant crunch of Josh's footsteps. I read more. June 14th, I tried screaming. Nothing answered. I tried walking back, but the forest is looping. I swear I passed the same dead tree 3 times. It's playing with me. June 15th, it whispered my name last night, right outside the tent. It sounded like my mother. My spine went rigid. I flipped to the final entry, which was written in blood. June 16th, it let me see its face. It's wearing mine. That's when I heard it, my name, not Josh's voice. Not a voice I recognized, but it came from deeper in the woods. It sounded like me. Liam. My heart slammed in my chest. I turned back, ready to run, but the trail was gone. No more trampled grass. No markers, just trees. Walls and walls of trees. "Josh?" I yelled, no answer, then again, closer this time, "Liam." But now it was Josh's voice. I sprinted, branches cut into my arms. I ran blindly, heart pounding. After what felt like forever, I burst into a small clearing and nearly collapsed in relief. Josh stood there, except ... Something was wrong. His back was to me, perfectly still. Too still. "Josh?" I called. Cautiously, he turned slowly. It looked like Josh, but his eyes were wrong black, depthless, smiling too wide. "You read it," he said, his voice flat. I stepped back. "It knows you now," he whispered. Then his body collapsed hollow, like an empty skin. Something moved in the trees behind me. I dropped the journal and ran. The forest seemed endless. Every direction looked the same. I swear I passed the same clearing 3 times. I was being circled. Night came quickly. I found a rock outcrop and huddled there, shaking. I didn't dare sleep. The trees whispered all night, not with wind. With words. "Come see your face." At dawn, I saw the journal again, right where I dropped it, but now open to a new entry. June 17th, Liam is here now. He'll stay with me. The forest always takes what it's owed. I slammed the book shut. That's when I heard footsteps, not animal footsteps. Human, slow, crunching leaves behind me. I didn't turn, I just ran. Eventually, I saw a road. Somehow, by some miracle, I found it. I ran until a passing ranger truck picked me up. I told him everything. He looked at me with an expression I'll never forget. "You said her name was Emily R." I nodded. He was quiet for a long moment. "She went missing here in 2009. We searched for weeks. Never found a trace." He asked where I'd found the journal, and I directed him back. He promised to investigate. I never heard from him again. I tried to forget. I really did. But last week, a package arrived at my apartment. No return address. Inside was a red, blood-stained journal. Open to a fresh page. The handwriting wasn't hers, it was mine. June 26. The forest showed me it's true. Face, it wears mine now, and it's coming for you next. 3. She waved at me from the tree, but my sister was already inside the house when I was 12. My family moved to a farmhouse that backed into the forest. My sister, Molly, was 9. She was always the adventurous one, climbing trees, talking to birds, bringing home frogs in her backpack. I preferred staying inside with books and pretending monsters didn't exist. We arrived in mid-autumn. The woods were ablaze with orange and red leaves, and the whole place smelled of pine and wet earth. It looked peaceful, but that feeling didn't last long. It started with the tree, a massive, twisted thing with limbs like arms reaching toward the sky. It stood just beyond our backyard fence, blackened and crooked like it had been struck by lightning but never fallen. I noticed it immediately. So did Molly. "That's my climbing tree," she declared on day 1. Our parents didn't mind. They figured it kept her busy. But something about that tree unsettled me. It looked wrong. Kay was too old, too still. The first incident happened a week later. I was in the kitchen pouring cereal when I saw Molly waving at me from the tree. She was up on one of the higher branches, grinning, barefoot. I scowled and opened the back door to yell at her for climbing so high. But before I could, I heard her voice behind me. "What you're looking at?" I turned. Molly was standing at the top of the stairs inside the house. She had just woken up. I whipped my head back toward the tree. The girl was gone. I didn't say anything that night. I couldn't sleep. I kept picturing the girl's face, the same as Molly's, but her smile was too wide. Her eyes didn't blink, and her skin, it was a little too pale. I chalked it up to a trick of the light. Maybe I was tired. Maybe my imagination was acting up again. But then it happened again, 3 days later. After dinner, I was taking the trash out. I glanced at the tree. There she was again. Molly, or something that looked like her, sitting perfectly still on a branch, legs dangling, eyes locked on me. She didn't wave this time. She just watched, and then started crawling down the tree head first. Like a spider, I dropped the trash bag and ran inside, locking the door behind me. My heart pounded against my ribs. I rushed to the living room. Molly was curled up on the couch with Mom. Watching cartoons, I didn't tell them. Not yet. A few nights later, Molly woke us all up with a scream. "There's a girl outside my window," she cried. Dad ran to her room. There were muddy handprints on the glass on the outside and scratches in the sill, like nails dragging across the wood. "She looked like me," Molly whispered, clinging to Mom. But wrong. Now they were scared too. Dad set up motion lights. He even bought a camera and pointed it at the tree. I don't know what he saw in the footage. He never let me look, but he turned pale and deleted the files. After that, he cut the tree down. Or tried to. He rented a chainsaw and went out that weekend. Molly and I watched from the upstairs window. The moment the blade touched the bark, the chainsaw stalled. Wouldn't start again. Dad cursed, grabbed an axe, and started hacking at it himself. I swear. The tree bled, not sap. Blood. He stumbled back in shock, dropping the axe. That's when we saw something move inside the trunk, like it was hollow. But alive Dad left the axe there and never touched the tree again. But it didn't stop. That night, we heard scratching at the windows, every single one. The lights flickered. Our dog wouldn't stop barking at the walls. I could hear whispers coming from the vents, whispers that sounded like Molly calling me into the forest. Then came the knock at the back door. We all froze. 3 soft knocks, then silence. Then Molly's voice. "Let me in," it said. "Please, I'm cold." But Molly was right next to me, sobbing. I didn't move. Neither did my parents. Eventually, the voice faded. The next morning, the axe was gone from the yard. In its place, carved into the tree, were 3 words. "She's not yours." We moved a month later. We didn't sell the house, we just left. My parents never explained why. But none of us ever went back. Molly never spoke about the tree again. She barely spoke at all. Years passed. Last week, I came home from college to visit my parents. Molly seemed different. Distant, she barely looked at me. That night, I heard her voice outside my window again. I opened the curtain. There she was, Molly, or something that looked like her standing under the regrown tree. Grinning, "Let me in," she whispered. I turned to scream and froze. Molly was already standing in my room, staring at me. Her face was blank. Her eyes were black. If you're still watching, you survived this tale. But tell me, would you have made it out alive? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like if the story gave you chills. Subscribe to Fear and Tale, New Nightmares, every week. And remember, just because the story ends, doesn't mean it's over.